Anyway, I just want you to know that we're looking at trees here at the Botanic Garden in Warragul in Victoria. And I bought this place in 1980. This 5 acres was for sale in 78 and 79 and no one wanted it. They wouldn't pay $34,500 for it. Bit of an old farm, there was some rubbish on it, there were no trees. This place was this was unwanted, unloved land. This one is from South Africa. It's fairly common. It's the torch lily, big red flowers, and lots of seed here. I hope to collect some. A trident maple from China, very young at the moment. One of the 4 Chimonanthuses of this world, the common Chimonanthus of commerce, is from Japan, Chimonanthus praecox, winter sweet, flowers on bare stems in winter, pale yellow flower, beautifully scented, used to make perfume. There are 4 species only in the world. 2 are scented, 2 aren't. The 2 scented ones, I have both of those here. People will buy those, they smell the flowers, they say, oh, I want one of those. The unscented ones, who cares? You have to either fall in love with it for some other reason. This one's suffering a bit. I've never really quite understood what the problem was. It might be too much sun or too much cold here where we live, but I've had to cover it a good deal. Again, a rare plant on this continent. That's American sassafras, the source of American root beer. The plant is a tree, small tree, understory in a forest, and it suckers and spreads. And since you're standing in a nice moist field here, I'm hoping in time that it will run this way, just as this California poppy or Romney will also run if she's in good dry ground. This isn't very dry, but we might have a surprise. A wild chestnut from Europe. That one popped up here because, well, because I move soil around and plant things in places, and sometimes there's wild seeds in the soil. In this case, it was a wild chestnut. I don't know that I need it, but I've let it live. Sugar maple. There's only 3 on the property. That one's a young one that was born wild in the Dandenongs. So I like to say it's an Australian sugar maple now, born here as it was, and not in a pot, not in a hothouse, but under its mother. A jet bead also from Japan, white flowers, you can see a few, and jet black beads, seeds used in beadwork. There may be some on there, there may not. I forget what this one is. Sorry, might be a Halesia monticola, or maybe not. I write down the names, but I can't remember all of them. This one is a young river birch from America. It doesn't look like much yet, but one of its names is a brown birch or a black birch, and it can have brown or black trunk to it. It's just a different species than the European white birch. There's a black chokecherry from North America. Edible berries, but usually cooked. A seedling child of a purple Crimson King maple from Europe, which is a grafted form, has a dark leaf. This is another species of birch and Japanese maple. I think we have missed the flowers, only a few left, of a Philadelphias, also from China. This one came via England, of course, because the English went to China and collected many plants and brought them here. A rose of Sharon. Another one of the great white birches. In this case, it's Montii from the Himalayas. It has a white trunk right to the ground rather than black at its base. A nectarine, and there's a peach over there. A fig tree. This one is Preston Prolific. I think it was bred in Melbourne. New Zealand lacebark tree. I don't think she's flowering now, but she flowers white and a slight scent as well. A rice paper plant from Taiwan originally, it's thought, but from China, Japan, Taiwan, and South. And they get a pithy-like substance from inside the stems, and that's the source of rice paper, which is used for artists' work, but also to be eaten, wrapped around candies, I think perhaps sushi as well. A coast redwood, giant coastal redwood from America. A variegated donax. Well, we've seen a green form up closer to our house, and this is a variegated one. Mostly it's used for ornament. It will get 3 times this high. It is one of the bamboos, but there are 5 genera of bamboos, so there's lots and lots of bamboos. This one is not very strong. It will get a diameter of about 1 inch, but you can probably crush it with a good fist. So it's not used for structural things, but pieces of its wood are shaved down, and they are the musical reed in saxophones and clarinets and other reed instruments. This one is from South America. It is a Sestrum, a relative of the fuchsia. It has clusters of red flowers for about 7 or 8 months a year here, and it's visited every morning and evening by the birds. There's a lilac, which we think of as English, but of course originally it came from Persia. Again, another South American. Many people know dahlias, which have tubers and grow about this high and have wonderful, colorful flowers. And this is the tree dahlia. And this one's finished from last year, but it had dangling, large pink flowers on it. It's not a rare plant. But here is a rare plant. Nothing to look at now, but it's one of the honeysuckles. And this one is from China. It's quite rare, I think. It's species, genus Lonicera, species Gracillipes. Tiny little delicate pink flowers, not scented, in spring. My favorite scented shrub on this whole property, from Japan, with silver under its leaves, very pretty in the wind. In spring, clusters of small white flowers, beautifully scented like spiced vanilla custard, used to make perfume in China and Japan, followed by a very small fruit, but very beautiful if you look at them, salmon colored with little spots. And they are eaten in Japan scalded, meaning they're soaked in some hot water. And that's because that silver color under the leaves is little hairs that reflect light and make it look silver. And I think the fruits probably also have very tiny little hairs. Probably you wouldn't want to swallow them fresh, but they are put into hot water, scalded for a moment, and then they're eaten.